Greetings and welcome back to AP Computer Science Principles. This is Unit 5, List, Loops, and Traversals. We're on Lesson 4, List Make. So this is one of our activities, very similar to all our other makes, so where you're going to view an app and then build that app. So for a warm-up before we start, imagine you want to build an app for reminders. What information do you think needs to be stored? So pause, welcome back. Well, hopefully, the reminders, right? So again, that's what we're building today, is a reminder app. So we'll kind of bounce back and forth between this and our lovely thing, which you can get by going to the activity part of this lesson. You can make a copy of this so you can follow along. We'll be bouncing it back and forth with all of this. So again, think of some of these things you remember. You're going to need to work with this. But here is the app. If you click run, nothing happens. We hit left or right, add a new reminder, do chores, add that one, and then let's add another one, do something, we click add. Notice it didn't take us to that one. We can't go left, so that's good, because that would break it, because there's nothing that way on the list, the array. We go right, and it won't let us go any further. So those are cool things we need to understand. And then if you notice, basically just adding. So this is a pretty simple reminder list. We can't tell it where to go. It just keeps adding to the end. So fairly simple. We do need a little bit of logic where it stops us from going too far either direction. And then when you click add, it just adds it, right? It doesn't actually doesn't change the screen, right? So while you're looking at that, go ahead and answer, what patterns do you see? What patterns do you see? Again. Now, how many lists do you think we'll need to make this work? So, how many lists do you think we need? And then we talked about the patterns already. Hopefully you got that down. How is it working? This goes with just the definition of a list. Well, it's order, right? So what's the pattern? Well, it goes in order. So, give yourself a list name, and then what does it store? And then you're going to have a variable which they conveniently already named for you, and what is it going to store? And we've seen this already, right? The other lessons we went through, we saw how you're able to go through that, and they have some code that kind of already does this for us. So they're giving us quite a bit of code in this exercise. Key is you're going to create your list name. What is it going to store? Got an index variable, and what is it going to store? Remember how you access different elements. You have to know what their index is, right? That's why we need that variable. So we'll look at this code a little bit because this is going to be useful to how the safety procedures work on it, right? How it stops. So if you click the left button, it will only make the index go down. It will only make the index go down if the index is greater than 0, right? So if it takes it to 0, remember, and 0 is the first index. If it takes it to 0, it's not going to go any further. Right? It's going to stay there. So every time I click on this when it's down at 0, I'm on item number 1, but I'm technically on index 0. So therefore, I can't go any further. That's what that's doing. And then update the screen. You can see it doesn't really do anything but whatever index it's on, it's putting it into the box. That's it. That's what this is doing, essentially, right? There's only one other feature of code you really need to add in here, and that's to react to this, right? That's to react to this. You can say just created a whole bunch of empty ones by doing that, but so yeah, type stuff in there, and then react to this. So if you remember how to get text and then how to add items to thing. So what code is the function? What's repeated? What happens each of those buttons? What happens to each of those buttons? This pretty much gives you all of the answers you need right here. So this really shouldn't be too bad because the conditionals, we were looking at the conditionals. Oh, and then this one, again, this is the answer to the other thing. This is so it doesn't go too far to the other direction. It gets the top of it. So if the length of it's 6, it won't let it go past 5 because 5 is the last one. If it goes to 6, it'll break the code. So this piece right here is a conditionals, which luckily is kind of done for you. You do need to make sure you put them into the app, but it kind of explains it. And with that, it also showed you the function part of it. So there's that. However, there is one thing, as I mentioned before, that is not here, and that's what we need to look at these inputs. I don't know why they gave us so many. Well, I guess technically. So you have your right and your left, right? But then you have ways. Remember, inputs are the ways that you interact with, right? Not necessarily that you're inputting data, but ways you interact. So if you click on something that does something, that is input. So input, 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 right? That's where I got a 4. So what do they do? How to interact? Remember, 1 is just taking the text. And that's about it. I mean, most of your code is probably right here. You just need to add that final piece of when they click the add button, how do you add the actual code to it, right? How do you add the thing? So luckily, if you scroll around in variables, you might see a code that will allow you to add items to a list with that. And that's pretty much it, right? So the rest of this time is you going in, finishing this up. If you remember from last time, when you're done, you'll click share, get the link, paste the link here, and your code should do what this one does. So you could test it by doing all the things on this, and if your app does everything, then you've completed the app with that. So again, a good chunk of I'm not going to do a lot of the code because a good chunk of your code is right here. You just need to modify it for yours. So hopefully that was good. We'll see you next lesson.